There are moments in time that shimmer differently. Days when the invisible world seems to lean closer, when something ancient and sacred begins to breathe beneath the rhythm of ordinary life. October 10 is one of those days. It is not simply a date on the calendar. It is a threshold. The hours that compose it carry a strange expectancy, as though all creation pauses for a heartbeat, waiting for the awakening of those who can feel it. The miracle that approaches is not merely an event, not a flash of spectacle or a wonder meant to impress the unbelieving eye. It is something more delicate, more profound, a divine turning of unseen wheels, a quiet fulfillment of promises whispered long ago. To be ready for such a miracle is not to anticipate noise or drama, but to cultivate stillness, the kind that listens deeply and recognizes holiness in the ordinary. For every miracle has two sides, the part that heaven performs and the part the soul must prepare for. The unseen is always moving toward us, but it can only enter where there is room cleared by faith, by humility, by expectancy. October 10 asks you to clear that space. It asks whether your heart has become too crowded with fears, whether your mind has filled itself with noise that drowns out the subtle music of grace. The miracle does not come to those who demand proof. It comes to those who, in quiet courage, believe that proof is already woven into the waiting. You cannot chase it, you can only make yourself ready for its arrival. It may come as softly as light through a window at dawn, so faint at first you might miss it if your eyes are closed. Imagine the morning of October 10. The world looks the same streets, the same sky, the same hours. Yet within that sameness, something invisible is gathering strength. Heaven's breath moves through the air, and those who are awake feel its touch. You may not hear a voice, but your heart knows. You may not see a sign, but your soul trembles with recognition. This is how miracles enter, not through spectacle, but through alignment. They do not break the laws of nature. They fulfill them on a higher plane. The leaf that turns in the wind, the stranger's kind word, the unexpected peace that silences your anxiety. These may be the very edges of the miracle brushing against your life. To get ready for this miracle is to begin seeing differently. Look not with the eyes that measure, but with the heart that perceives. What if your disappointments were not endings, but preparations? What if every delay, every detour, every unanswered prayer was part of a divine choreography leading to this moment? You see, miracles rarely arrive in isolation. They are built upon the scaffolding of patience, the waiting, the wondering, the feeling of silence from above. These are not signs of abandonment but of construction. Something has been building behind the veil, something whose foundation is almost complete. October 10 is not the beginning of your miracle. It is the unveiling. The call of this day is gentle yet insistent. Be ready. But readiness is not anxious activity. It is a quiet confidence, a surrendering of control. To be ready is to trust that even if the sky remains clouded, the sun is rising behind it. It is to hold open your hands when you do not yet see what they will receive. The miracle may not change the world around you first. It may begin by changing you. It might dissolve a fear you thought eternal, lift a burden you did not know you were carrying, or awaken a peace that feels like sunlight after a long winter. The miracle does not always come as addition. Sometimes it comes as release. You have been walking toward this day, perhaps without knowing it. Every act of kindness, every prayer whispered in weariness, every decision to keep believing when you could have turned away. These were your preparations. You have been building an altar in your heart, and now the fire descends. October 10 does not arrive to impress the eye, but to confirm the truth. That heaven remembers, that no faith is wasted, that the divine watches over the details of your life with perfect precision. When you stand in readiness, you become part of that precision. You move from being a spectator of miracles to being their participant. Think of the ocean, how its tides obey the moon, though they cannot see it. In the same way, your life responds to invisible gravity. You are drawn by something larger, a rhythm that belongs not to chance but to destiny. The events of October 10 may appear natural, yet they are guided by an unseen hand. What you call coincidence is heaven's way of remaining anonymous. The miracle does not need your control, it asks only for your consent. It does not demand your power, only your openness. It is already nearer than you imagine, already weaving through your hours like a melody faint, but rising. So how should one prepare? Begin with silence. Turn down the noise of the world, the endless chatter, the restless hurry, and listen inwardly. Let gratitude rise like incense. Thank the unseen for what has not yet appeared. Gratitude is faith's native language. It speaks of certainty before sight. Then, forgive. There is no room for bitterness where the miraculous intends to dwell. The miracle enters where peace has made its home. Release the burdens of resentment, and you will find your heart lighter, your eyes clearer, your spirit freer to recognize grace when it arrives. Finally, expect, not with desperation, but with wonder. Expectation is the lantern you hold out into the dark. It tells heaven, I am waiting, but I am not doubting. And when October 10 dawns, walk gently through it. Every step could be sacred ground. Every hour might conceal a divine appointment. Look for the subtle movements. Doors opening that were once locked, hearts softening where once there was coldness, light entering places that had long been dim. Miracles seldom announce themselves, they reveal themselves to those who are paying attention. Perhaps it will be a sudden realization, a message at just the right time, a quiet assurance that everything is unfolding according to plan. Whatever form it takes, recognize it. Whisper your gratitude. And remember, you were chosen to witness it. For this is what the day is truly about, awakening to the nearness of the divine. October 10 is not a spectacle on the outside, but a stirring within, a reminder that heaven still walks among us in subtle ways. You do not need to chase the extraordinary, you need only to open your eyes to the sacred that has been here all along. The miracle is not somewhere else, waiting to be discovered. It is here, waiting to be noticed. To get ready for this miracle is to believe that life itself is not random, but radiant with meaning. It is to walk into this day with reverence, knowing that you are stepping into a story already written with love. And when the invisible finally becomes visible, when the promise begins to unfold, you will not be surprised. You will simply smile, for deep within, you always knew that this moment would come. October 10 has always been waiting for hearts like yours, hearts that believe before they see, hearts that prepare before they receive, hearts that are ready for the miracle heaven has been preparing all along. The moment of a miracle is not when it appears, but when you believe it could. For belief is the birthplace of wonder, the spark that calls heaven's power into motion long before the world takes notice. A miracle is not born in the visible. It begins in the quiet soil of the unseen, where thought becomes trust and trust becomes manifestation. When faith stirs within the human heart, it sets invisible machinery into motion, summoning light from silence, answers from waiting, and new beginnings from endings. The miracle does not wait for sight, sight waits for belief. And that is why those who believe, even in darkness, are the first to see dawn. The world tells us to see first and believe after, to trust only what can be measured or explained. Yet the laws of heaven reverse this order completely. To the natural mind, believing without evidence feels foolish. To the awakened soul, it is the very act that births evidence. When you choose to believe, you enter into partnership with the unseen. It is as though your spirit reaches upward, and the divine reaches downward, and between the two hands, something radiant begins to form. What the skeptic calls coincidence, the believer recognizes as orchestration. Belief tunes the heart to hear the frequency of the miraculous. It sharpens perception, makes the invisible audible, and turns ordinary days into divine appointments. Imagine a seed buried beneath the earth. To the eye, there is nothing but dirt and silence. Yet within that hidden darkness, life is already stirring. The miracle of growth begins long before the sprout touches air. So it is with faith. The moment you believe that something can happen, it already begins. The universe bends ever so slightly, aligning itself to the frequency of your trust. You may not see the change immediately, but every unseen force begins to cooperate with what your soul has declared possible. This is why the moment of a miracle is not in the display of power, but in the first whisper of faith that dares to say, "Even this can change." When you believe, you become a creator alongside your creator. You cease to be a victim of circumstance and become a vessel of intention. Belief does not ignore reality. It rewrites it. It does not deny facts. It invites higher truths to intervene. The mountains do not move for those who wish they would. They move for those who speak to them with conviction. And that conviction does not come from arrogance. It comes from alignment with something eternal. It is not loud, it is resolute. It says, "I may not know how, but I know who." When you carry that kind of faith, the world itself begins to rearrange around you. Doors open not because they were forced, but because they recognize the authority of trust. October 10, then, is not about waiting for a miracle to appear. It is about deciding that it can. The air around that day hums differently for those who believe. Their hearts are attuned to signs others overlook. They find meaning in the mundane, beauty in interruptions, and purpose in delays. Their belief transforms every moment into preparation for revelation. And when the miracle finally surfaces, whether in the soft unfolding of peace or the sudden sweep of change, they are not surprised, for they have been expecting it all along. Belief made them ready long before sight confirmed it. There is a holy mystery in this. Heaven responds to expectation. Faith is not mere optimism, it is the architecture of reality. Every true act of belief is a structure built in the unseen, and in time, the visible world must take its shape from that design. The future is not something that happens to you. It is something that rises out of what you dare to believe today. That is why the greatest miracles often begin as small, fragile convictions, barely noticeable, easily dismissed. Yet, when guarded, nurtured, and spoken aloud, they grow into living proof that the invisible is more real than the visible. When you believe, you alter the atmosphere around you. Fear loses its vocabulary, doubt loses its footing, and despair begins to dissolve. The one who believes walks differently, not because the path is easier, but because their vision is wider. They see beyond what is immediate, sensing the slow rhythm of divine timing that governs all things. Even setbacks become signs, even silence becomes instruction. The believer walks through storms with an unshaken calm, for they know that the same God who allowed the wind also commands it. Their faith becomes a lighthouse, steady amid the dark, drawing the miracle toward them like a ship guided home. And here lies the paradox: the miracle, once it arrives, often feels familiar. It is as though you have seen it before, in the secret chambers of your spirit. You realize that it did not begin the moment it appeared. It began when you believed it could. You were already living in its direction, already breathing its atmosphere, already shaped by the trust that called it forth. Belief, then, is not the preparation for the miracle. It is the miracle's first breath. To live this way, to believe before seeing, is to walk in rhythm with creation itself. Every dawn is an act of faith. The sun rises because the universe believes in light. Every seed, every tide, every heartbeat testifies that belief is the engine of existence. When you align your spirit with that truth, you no longer live in reaction to circumstances, you live in cooperation with purpose. You begin to notice that what others call chance is, in fact, divine timing revealing itself at the exact moment your belief ripens enough to receive it. And so, as October 10 approaches, remember this: do not strain to make something happen. Instead, believe that something is already happening. The miracle does not need your effort, it needs your agreement. Stand in quiet readiness, not demanding but welcoming, not controlling but trusting. Speak words of gratitude into the air, for gratitude is the language of completion. Act as though the miracle has already occurred, and you will find that it begins to shape your world accordingly. This is not superstition, it is spiritual law. The unseen always mirrors the posture of the heart. The moment of a miracle, then, is not some distant, unpredictable flash of grace. It is here, now, in the stillness of your willingness to believe. The instant your faith awakens, the miracle begins to move. It may take time to manifest in the world's eyes, but in eternity's timeline, it is already done. Heaven does not wait for proof. It waits for permission, and belief is that permission. The one who believes walks not by sight but by harmony, trusting that every step, even the uncertain ones, are guided by divine intention. And when the day finally arrives, when what was once invisible begins to show itself, you will look back and realize that the real transformation did not happen outside of you. It happened within. The world simply rearranged itself to match the new reality of your belief. That is why the truest miracle is not the event that unfolds, but the courage to believe it could. For in that moment, the human heart touches eternity, and the eternal bends to meet it. Those who prepare in faith find that heaven was preparing for them all along. The divine story of your life is not one of random events, but of orchestration so precise that every joy, delay, and detour has meaning beyond measure. Long before your prayers took shape as words, heaven had already begun arranging the answers. Long before you dreamed, the dream had been waiting for you. This is the great mystery of grace. That what we call preparation is often just awakening to what has already been prepared. The miracle is not something you must chase. It is something that has been chasing you. It moves quietly through time, waiting for the moment when your heart becomes ready enough to see it. Faith is not about forcing the future. It is about aligning yourself with the one who has already written it. When you prepare in faith, you are not convincing heaven to act. You are training your soul to recognize heaven's motion. Faith does not make miracles happen. It makes them visible. The light has always been shining. You simply turn toward it. The universe is not indifferent to your hope. It has been shaped to respond to it. The rhythm of divine timing beats in perfect sync with the heart that trusts. Every act of faith, no matter how small, sends a signal into eternity, and eternity answers. That is why those who live by faith seem to walk through chaos with calm. They know that even what appears uncertain has already been accounted for by the unseen hand guiding their steps. To them, nothing is wasted, nothing forgotten, nothing late. Preparation in faith is not frantic activity. It is patient alignment. It is not running to get ahead of the miracle, but walking at the pace of grace. To prepare in faith is to say, I do not need to see the whole road. I will take the next step because I know who paved it. It is choosing trust when reason demands proof. It is holding on when the night feels endless, because you sense that dawn has already been set in motion. The miracle is not something that suddenly appears. It is the culmination of 1,000 quiet preparations, both yours and heaven's. For every seed you have planted in tears, the soil of time has been turning, watering, and nurturing what you could not yet see. The divine works in ways too intricate for the hurried mind to grasp. What feels like delay is often design. What feels like silence is often strategy. Heaven does not measure time by minutes or days, but by readiness. The promise that lingers has not been denied, it has been preserved. There are seasons when heaven withholds what you ask for, not to punish but to protect. The miracle is never early, for an unready heart cannot hold it. This is why preparation matters. Faith grows roots before it grows wings. It is the hidden work beneath the surface, the surrender, the trust, the letting go, that gives the miracle something solid to land upon when it arrives. And yet, even as you prepare, heaven prepares you. The shaping is mutual. Every trial has been polishing your endurance. Every silence has been tuning your ear to discern the faint whispers of grace. The lessons you resisted have become the foundation you will soon stand on. Heaven's preparation is not separate from yours. It is intertwined. The delays that frustrated you were building depth. The doors that closed were redirections towards something safer, stronger, and more sacred. You may not see it now, but someday you will trace the pattern backward and realize that every twist in your story was a brushstroke of divine precision. Think of it this way: you are standing on the shore, gazing at the horizon. You have been praying for a ship to appear, but you see nothing. Still, you prepare the dock, gather the ropes, and make space. Others laugh at your faith. They see no sails, no movement, only still water. But what they cannot see is that beyond the curve of the earth, your ship is already on its way. It has been sailing toward you long before you began to ask. The ocean is vast, but the promise is sure. Your preparation does not summon the ship. It simply ensures you are ready to receive it when it docks. Heaven's preparation is both mysterious and merciful. It works through people you have not yet met, through circumstances you have not yet understood. It rearranges details in perfect sequence, ensuring that when your moment arrives, everything aligns as though it had been waiting only for you. The right conversation, the right opportunity, the right opening. They do not appear by accident. They are divine appointments written into your timeline. When you prepare in faith, you step into those appointments as though guided by invisible hands. You walk into rooms you did not plan to enter, and find that everything you needed was already waiting there. This is the great beauty of faith. It allows you to rest in what has already been finished. You no longer strive to make the miracle happen. You learn to live in anticipation of what heaven has already arranged. That anticipation becomes your strength. You begin to notice signs others ignore, the subtle reassurance in nature's rhythm, the sudden peace that comes unbidden, the quiet conviction that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. Heaven speaks softly to those who are listening, and preparation tunes your hearing. When October 10 arrives, it will not surprise the soul that has been preparing. For that soul, the day will feel like recognition, not revelation. They will say, "Of course, it was always meant to be." What others see as sudden breakthrough, the prepared heart will see as the natural unfolding of divine timing. This is how heaven works. It does not rush, it orchestrates. It does not delay, it synchronizes. Faith does not change the divine clock. It simply makes us aware of how perfectly it keeps time. You may feel, even now, that nothing is happening. But that stillness is not emptiness, it is gestation. Miracles grow in silence. Just as the seed must remain hidden in the soil before it blooms, your answered prayer must mature beneath the surface before it manifests. The unseen roots of your faith are spreading even now, anchoring you so deeply that when the miracle blossoms, it will not overwhelm you. It will sustain you. Heaven has not forgotten. It has been working quietly, patiently, waiting for the perfect intersection between divine purpose and human readiness. To prepare in faith, then, is to live with open hands. It is to release control, to stop demanding explanations, and to trust that what is meant for you cannot be lost. It is to understand that heaven's "not yet" is never "no." It is to believe that the same hands that formed the stars are forming your future. When you walk with that assurance, you begin to see beauty even in waiting. You stop asking, "When will it happen?" and start saying, "I know it is happening." And that knowing changes everything. Because the truth is this: the miracle was never far from you. It was walking beside you through every trial, concealed by the disguise of ordinary life. Heaven has always been preparing the stage. The light is already rising. The curtain is about to lift. And when it does, you will see that every moment of waiting, every season of struggle, every prayer whispered in the dark was not wasted. It was all preparation. Those who prepare in faith will one day stand in awe and realize that heaven's timing was never late. It was exact. Every detour was direction. Every pause was protection. Every hardship was hidden grace. Heaven was not making you wait, it was making you ready. And when the miracle arrives, it will not feel like something foreign entering your world, but like something familiar returning home. Because it was never truly apart from you. It was waiting, as heaven always does, for the moment when your faith would finally meet its fulfillment.